Happy Halloween! This video is already long enough, so let's on with the sculpting. For these sculpts, I was inspired by KB Creations and a really cute pumpkin cat creature. But instead of cute animals, I decided to make somewhat creepy and misshapen pumpkin heads for our 4 unsuspecting victims who kind of lent their bodies for us today. First, let's start with this tiny little bear who will later be reshaped into a psychopathic little dog. I took some tin foil and used a few paper balls to scrunch it together into a head shape. Then I used some pipe cleaner to make it more pumpkin-like when I covered it in clay. But that didn't really do much, as everything ended up merging together into a big lumpy ball. So I just made some lines with a toothpick, added more clay in between the edges. I suppose it looks alright. Next I added texture by poking my clay with a ball stylus. Cut the top off. I took out all the paper balls, which is a lot easier than slicing through layers of tin foil. Then I very poorly carved out a face and did the rest off camera because it was my first attempt at a sculpt like this. And I mean, it's fine, but yeah, I'm sorry. I swear the next one is slightly better. Anyways, on to the next one, and it's a penguin. To mention, I love birds because I do. They're great, and even though it saddens me to destroy a fellow bird for the sake of me wanting a cool bird pumpkin creature, I don't feel bad because the original bird was kinda ugly. So I made a tin foil ball, added some clay, drew some lines, made a stem for the top part, now I'm carving out the top part with an X-Acto knife. Now texture. Next I'm outlining how I want to cut the face out of the pumpkin with a toothpick. Then I used my X-Acto blade to cut out the pieces of the face and remove some tinfoil so I can see the face a bit better. As you can see, just a little bit of tinfoil makes quite a mess. But here's how it looks on the penguin body. Wait, is that a different penguin from before? The head may have been a bit too small for the other penguin I had, so I found a different, very ugly penguin to use for this project. I also removed paper balls just to show you how easy they are to get rid of. And they can be reused for other projects because they don't take forever to clean up. Next, I made a top hat out of tinfoil tape and clay. Added some fabric-like texture with the edge of an X-Acto blade, and added a little ribbon just for extra flair. Now we're moving on to this ugly Funko Bear I got for half off because no one wanted it due to its very ugly nature. Also, there's one creator who knows a lot about ugly Funko plushies, specifically of the FNAF kind. It's this person right here, so go check them out. The reason I bought this ugly plushie customized in the first place. Due to the fact that this creature is already kind of gross to look at, I thought maybe you guys wouldn't mind as much if I used this one as an example of how I go about cutting the heads off these fluffy creatures. So here it is. For this, I basically try to find the tiny hidden seams where the head is sewn onto the body and cut each of them open. Yes, it would be easier to use scissors, but this method allows for a cleaner execution style, and I don't have to worry about cutting in a straight line because that's surprisingly hard to do. Alright, you know the drill. Everything's the same as last time. Then I made some bear ears. Covered them in clay, added texture, and they look very cute. I also decided to make him a little hat as well, except it's a bowler hat for some reason, because my brain was like, yeah, bears and tiny bowler hats. I think that's a thing in the circus, and maybe I'm not wrong? Moving on, we have this fluffy little thing with a bow tie that I'm turning into a fancy rabbit. Starting with rabbit ears. One points up, another points down, and both get textured. Now I'm making another top hat, because I know that rabbits and top hats do have a connection. Also, I tried to show a more in-depth look of how my hat making process works, but I can't tell if it's informative or just unnecessary knowledge. Next, I made a fancy little monocle. Covered it in clay, added a wood grain texture, set a little metal ring onto the side which will be useful later. Finally, we bake. Now paint. We've got black, orange, dark green, dark brown, and light green. I mixed a little bit of black with orange, which helped add shading and dimension, but besides that, everything is painted in the colors they're supposed to be. I also ended up painting the insides of every pumpkin black so tinfoil wouldn't show through, and black paint is easier to apply than painting multiple layers of a light orange color. Next, the hats are painted black, then red for the ribbon, because it's a cliche, but it works. For the monocle, I tried some gold metallic paint, and I think it works well at making the final product actually look like metal. And now for the complicated part. I took some tiny metal rings and used tweezers to attach them onto the monocle, and the rabbit's hat, which took an annoyingly long time. Now I'm using fabric. We got this cheap one from a grocery store called Fat Quarter for some reason, but it worked fine for what I wanted, so who cares? Also, some ASMR from you. I bet you probably heard someone with this thing. I'm not good with straight lines, so I thought of a brilliant idea to use my cheap paper cutter thing to cut this fabric, and surprisingly, it worked. Sure, the ends are messy, but I just glued them down on the back of one end of the fabric. Then I cut the lines in half because they were too big, and I'm making some ruffles. Now, I'm bad at explaining things, but basically you can make ruffles by pulling the fabric like a fan, then glue the fabric on the side where the little loop is visible, and repeat. Also, I made another ruffle because the first one was too short. Also, ruffles on the outside look a lot smoother than the ones facing inside because I glued down the ugly edges. So it doesn't matter how smooth your cuts are, your final product might look bad if you don't glue your edges down. Anyways, I glued the ends of the ruffles underneath the bow tie. Glued a monocle on one eye of the head, put a little hat on. Glued the head onto the body, and here it is. I also made ruffles for the Funko Bear because I was really stuck on that circus theme. After the head was glued on, I realized that he was looking kind of wonky, so I decided cutting off more body parts, make my own, was the right way to go, set a possible future serial killer. Anyways, here are the arms being made, and I decided adding some paws with claws, but just 3 because I forgot animals usually have 5. Next is texture. Brown paint, and hot glue the arms into place. Now, onto the penguin, with its very squeezable body. I decided to give it a bow tie by cutting a line of ribbon and gluing a circle. Then I found a tutorial on how to tie a bow, then an hour trying to figure out how this weird technique works, and finally made this thing. But the final one has 2 bow ends because it's fancy. Then I went outside to scavenge for rocks, and this is because I decided my penguin needed to be weighed down, so I weighted the head, then toppled the whole penguin over when I finally glued it on. Also, more ASMR. What a crunchy body. Still gives a very satisfying squeeze though. Then I glued the head on. The nice thing about the ribbon is that it hides that awkward transition between the pumpkin head and the penguin body. Now, more fabric. I'm making a cape, and of course it's black because that's one of the spooky colors. For the cape, I cut little slits for height and length based on the penguin body. Continued cutting down the lines and end up with this thing. Next, I glued the cape onto the ribbon. And here it is. Finally, the one that's been neglected the most is the weird dog with a knife. So I decided to put it in chains for its murderous crimes against humanity. And here's the process for that. This is oven baked clay, and I'm not putting fabric in the oven, so I just test fitted these chains onto my dog body. Also, I knew that the chain near the knife would have to be slightly incomplete because it's easier than trying to fit the chain onto the knife arm without breaking the chain. Anyways, I painted them with silver metallic paint. And now I'm adding more chains, but tinier. Finally, the middle chain connects all the ones on the sides, and after gluing the head on, here it is. I decided some of my figures were looking a bit boring, so I thought, why not jazz it up with some plants? Plants are really good at hiding mistakes and boring sculptures, so here's to that. First, I wrap a long green vine around the creepy dog thing, then glue a bunch of little leaves around places where the vine is empty, or places where a vine doesn't fit in well, like top of the pumpkin. I also do this for the Funko Bear, and that's basically all the characters I feel who need just a little bit of extra help. Now we will add little tea lights to our spooky pumpkin heads because I like having a place to live, so I will not burn my house down using actual fire for my silly little art hobbies just for the aesthetic. Anyways, on to the final shots. Also, hey, I never imagined my artistic journey would lead me to becoming the creepy serial toy murderer, Sid from Toy Story. But here we are, and listen, some toys are just cheap trash, and I mean, if your creator can be bothered to make you look nice or work decently, then why are we even here? And by that, I also mean me. Like, why? Why am I here? Anyways, bye, that's it.